Hi there, this is James Swanwick, and you're listening to the Alcohol-Free Lifestyle Podcast, where you learn how to take back control over alcohol and live a life of health, wealth, love, and happiness.
Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. This is Dave Kelly, and today I get that wonderful opportunity of interviewing and talking with Gaylene Simpson. Now, Gaylene has recently finished the P90 Alcohol-Free Lifestyle Program. This has been done for both the Alcohol-Free Lifestyle podcast for James Swanwick and also for Dave Kelly for the Man Shit Project podcast. So we're going to jump straight into it. And as I said, I had a great opportunity for 3 months. Every week I got to speak to Gaylene about her progress in the phenomenal decision she made, which was to stop drinking alcohol for 90 days and then just see what benefits came out of that and then consider, does she want to keep that up for the rest of her life, or maybe it was just a 90-day thing. So you're looking fantastic, Gaylene, I've got to say.
Thanks, Dave. I definitely feel fantastic.
Feeling fantastic. Yeah, well, I don't know, I mean, in so many different ways, you look fantastic. And I know you're sitting over there in New Zealand and it's starting to get coming into the winter. But from what you were telling me when we talked each week, you'd really been able to lift your life up in so many different ways: health, relationships, your own happiness and things like that. So apart from not drinking alcohol, what other things have changed in your life over the period of doing the program?
I think some of the big benefits were like I was always into exercising and running, and my running, for instance, I've taken 8 minutes off my 4K run, which is huge.
Wow.
The weight loss, like you don't realise even the puffiness that you get from drinking, and that's not everyday drinking, that's just social drinking, weekend drinking, and how the extra weight loss just creeps on as well. So during the program, without even trying, because we all know, Dave, I ended up with a bit of a chocolate addiction there for a little while, and so I came off the sugar. But even during the program, I lost 13 centimetres off my waist, which is massive.
Wow.
And that wasn't even trying, and that was just giving up the sugar and the alcohol.
Wow. Do you think it was a combination of stopping the calories from the alcohol as well as using that time that you might have been sitting around drinking, not being very active, and then going out and doing more active things?
Yeah, totally. And also the sleep. Like sleep was a big thing. They always say sleep is a really good benefit to everything in your life. Exercise better, think better, you're more clear. But the sleep piece for me was huge. I don't think I never ever slept during the night. I'd wake up 2 or 3 times, and because I might have been stressed, something happened at work. Where now, I love going to bed because I sleep. And I have great quality sleep. And I actually wake up in the morning and bounce out of bed.
Wow. That's amazing. What about time? I mean, obviously, a lot of us, when we were drinking, and I've been alcohol-free now for 2 years, every now and then I might have a drink just to, in a certain social context. But generally speaking, I find that does not add anything to my life. And I know we've talked about, this whole way we grow up learning to think about drinking alcohol. It's just almost like it's part of us from a kid, and we just roll on with our life expecting that we will drink alcohol, just like all the TV ads and the printed ads tell us is what adults do. But it amounts to a whole lot of time, doesn't it? And so you've got all this extra time on your hands now, and since you started the program, what's that done for the quality time with your family, with your son and your husband?
Well, it's definitely, I guess, when you are spending time with them, it's more quality because you're present and you're just so much more organised in the evenings and in the weekends. So you plan your weekends around, and you actually get out and do stuff. Instead of talking about it, you take action. So there's been lots of things happen around the house and lots of things personally, and as a family, we're actually planning and doing more of now.
So it's kind of... did that surprise you, all those benefits that came out of it, or was it like you were just hoping you'd get the chance to be able to let those things develop more in your family life?
I guess I sort of thought, well, definitely was going to be some benefit, especially for doing it for 90 days, because 90 days is a really long time. But once I sort of got into the program, the 90 days went quite quickly. But I love Sunday mornings. I love getting up now on a Sunday morning, and I never used to run over 10Ks, and now I can get up on a Sunday morning and go for a 10K run. And what better way to start a Sunday morning? No hangover, clear-headed. Even if I do end up going out in the evening and having a late night, I'm waking up, I'm still resting, I'm still having good sleep and getting on with my Sunday and doing all those fun things that I actually enjoy that I used to think about.
Okay, so what would a Sunday morning in the past have been like?
Well, I guess it sort of depends. If we went out, I probably definitely would have overindulged and drunk too much wine. And then it would have been laying in bed till 9 o'clock, having cooked breakfast, and then slowly getting into some of the jobs if we'd been out the night before. So, and now it's all about go out the night before, but I can still jump out of bed and go for a run, do those jobs, and actually have some, quality me time as well as family time, which is really important.
Mm-hmm. That was the next thing I was going to get onto was a lot more time on your hands for family, for just, doing things, but also how's your relationship with yourself? Is that a thing to really ask? Has your relationship with yourself improved by virtue of the fact that you've been a bit clearer in your mind?
Yeah, totally. And I think that's, I don't know, I was sort of brought up to, there was one thing about the program was you actually had to talk about your feelings because I guess with the marketing and alcohol and, this is how you celebrate. You have a wine, you have a bad day at work, go home and have a wine, it'll be okay. You know what I mean? And I think as you get older, sometimes that wine could turn to two, and then, of course, you're not so clear-headed and you're quite tired. So, totally. When I think about my relationship with myself, is I'm more confident in making decisions because I'm clear. And also, I guess it's you learn to accept who you are, definitely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like the investment in time or having the time, but also putting that time towards yourself and your family and other things, fitness, etc., jobs around the house, the investment in that time has yielded a pretty great return.
Oh, yeah. I definitely got more out of the program than I thought. So much more.
Yeah. So, Gaylene, what was the final straw to make you change? Because I think from memory, you'd thought about this type of making a decision like this, but, at the time, I know that it was like a massive decision. And I remember talking to you and there was a few situations at work maybe or other social situations coming up. And you were a little bit nervous about how you should handle it because normally you rock into these situations, maybe not so much work, but social situations. And what's the status quo? Well, everyone's standing there with a drink and they're drinking. And all of a sudden you're coming in, fix you a drink. No, thanks. Well, what's wrong? And then it leads to all this inquiry. But I know there was a few times initially that you were a bit anxious. And is that true? Take us back to what that transition was like.
I sort of, I guess I joined the program because there was a couple of reasons behind it. I'd been following James and it was more about, I guess, we're brought up in a culture where alcohol is quite accepting and it becomes part of your lifestyle, barbecues in New Zealand, go to the rugby, have a beer, get in your job, celebrate, let's have bubbles. And it's a huge culture here in New Zealand. And I sort of, I don't know, I came after New Year's and was like, actually, I don't want to be part of this. I actually want to find out more about what James is about and what this 90-day challenge is, because by reading the reviews, you could tell that, okay, it was focused on people stopping drinking for 90 days. It was more about the entrepreneurs. But there was more to it, and I wanted to be part of that. So social situations, the first couple were a little bit hairy, but I was fortunate enough. My husband said, well, if you're going to do it, I'm going to quit too. So he came on the journey with me. Yeah, so he was on the journey for 90 days, wasn't on the program with me, but But even he noticed lots of changes even in himself. So the first couple of social situations was quite interesting because we've always been ones to drink and turn up not drinking. People were like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Wow.
But then, going back and seeing them 60 days later, and they're like, you're still not drinking. And we're like, no, we're not. And we're choosing not to. And we're actually, finding this quite good. And then people would start talking, wow, I wish I could do that. And, you become an inspiration to other people. So that's quite nice, really.
Oh, yeah, wonderful. So do you think that there's a lot of people think about this because of the Sunday morning after Sunday morning after Sunday morning getting up thinking, oh, my Lord, I feel crook, I want to be sick, or I just feel so rotten. And then you go and have this maybe a massive breakfast to try and get over that. Do you think there's a lot of people thinking, God, I wish I could break out of this box somehow? Like, have you found that in your family and friends just from their level of interest in you doing this?
I don't think anyone's ever admitted it to me, but I guess now that I'm on the other side and I'm still choosing not to drink, I think people start to look at you and think, wow, actually you're looking really good. And they start to actually question, what have you been doing? But I remember you and me, Dave, talked about this, and it was only right at the end of the program. And I was like, oh, my goodness, this whole program is not about the alcohol. It's actually about all the feelings that you feel, and you'd use alcohol to numb, and not all feelings, but some feelings. But the issue is that you still have those feelings after you've numbed with alcohol, be it 1 glass, 2 glasses of wine, a bottle, whatever. So, and I remember we talked about this, and it was only at about 87 days I recognised that. And it was actually learning to deal with all the emotions that come up and finding ways of coping in a different way. And sometimes that is actually just sitting and doing nothing.
Wow. I remember vividly when we were talking on that particular day, and you said, David, it's not about the alcohol. It's not about the alcohol. It's about whatever it is in our life that we're using to avoid feeling those feelings of, things like not feeling good enough, not feeling loved, feeling underappreciated, all these things, these negative, horrible feelings which pop up. And when those things come up, what do? How do we deal with them? Well, one way that's socially acceptable is to grab a drink, and that's what we've been doing. Most of us, since most people in our countries, maybe since the age of 16. That's how I numb out of it and sort of zone out of it, get rid of it. And it was so cool to hear you see that, because I thought, she's got it, man. She has got this, and this is a lesson that is so deep in your experience that that's what transformation's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And I think for me, a lot of it was stress. But the funny thing is now that I don't drink, I don't get as stressed. And if I do, I find a way to work through it, because I go to the core and go, well, actually, what has caused this stress? What do I need to do to change that? So, you sort of, things would bottle, but now it's like you go, well, actually, that's what's caused it. Do I need to worry about that? What can I do to change that? What needs to be done? Or actually, let's just detach the trailer here and move on and forget about it. And so, yeah, my stress levels are way, way down. I must admit, I'm so much more relaxed. And it's probably the most I've felt relaxed in, I don't know, probably 15 years, really.
Wow. That's phenomenal. Were they benefits, revelations, like changes which you weren't even thinking might come?
Oh, had no idea that would happen. And I guess I sort of gave up coffee at the same time, because I was, I always talk about liver loading, drinking caffeine in the morning and liver loading with wine. You know what I mean? Those sorts of things. So I gave up both at the same time. Well, I gave up coffee a little bit beforehand. And, you'd get, I don't know, some people get heart palpitations if you drink too much coffee and things. And so I sort of gave up both of them. I've sort of gone back to drinking a little bit. I have one coffee a day now, real coffee, because I actually enjoy coffee. But, and it was a perfect time to go, right, okay, let's actually have a really good detox here.
It sounds to me generally like you are empowered. You feel, you look, you sound like this empowered woman who's able to choose. Well, I have a coffee now. I don't have 6. I'm choosing strategically what you want to occur in your life. Is that something that's apparent to me? Is that how you're feeling, more confident generally in life?
Yeah, definitely, Dave. And I think also when I make decisions now, I'm making a conscious decision, not an unconscious decision. So, and it's even when it comes to food, you sort of go, well, it's very similar, isn't it? Like, do I, you go for the chocolate biscuit, and then it's like, and half the time you make an unconscious decision and you're already eating it before you actually realise what you've done. I've actually learned to make conscious decisions. So if I go to eat something now, I think, actually, do I need that? Is that going to be a benefit to me? Actually, no, I'm better off having something, a carrot or an apple or something more healthy. So it has taught me to make more conscious decisions, which have, prior to that, I was walking around making unconscious decisions all the time because I was just, that's how you did things. And that's how you drank alcohol, was an unconscious decision.
Right.
Hi, it's James here, and just a quick word from our sponsor, Project 90, which is the membership program that's been helping high achievers like yourself get long-term power over alcohol. Now, that can mean either you remain alcohol-free forever, or it can mean you go alcohol-free for at least 90 days, and then you have the power to choose to do moderation, if you like. Whichever way you choose, whether it's quit forever or do moderation, you will have long-term power over your drinking. Drinking will not have power over you. Project 90 has coaches, accountability, community. It's fun. I like to think I'm pretty fun. And we're going to help you. We're going to help you get long-term power over drinking. If that feels like it's for you, you can go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/schedule, where you can book a complimentary 50-minute call with one of my trained coaches, and we can see if Project 90 is for you. That's alcoholfreelifestyle.com/schedule. Or if you're in the US on a mobile phone, you can text me at the number 44222. Just text me the word Project 90 and I'll send you a calendar link for you to book your call there. Okay, let's get back to the episode.
I think we do a lot of things, don't we, that are unconscious. We've got a consciousness about us which is a certain way, but we're not actually sure how that started like that and where the origins of those things were. But I think science would tell us, and the research would say, that a lot of the decisions of who we are, of our concept of who we are formed somewhere between 0 and 8. And, so things like advertising, parental income, social status and environment that you're in, location in the world, all these sorts of things, cultural experiences, all have inputs as to how we are. But in the end of it, we end up just being this unconscious being who's going through life not really taking command. And the thing I'm really impressed about with you, Gaylene, is that you just seem like you are definitely in the seat of decision in your life, and it's wonderful. I'm sure that those around you, work colleagues, family, are really noticing those changes. And
definitely my son. He's just like, oh, you're not so tired anymore, Mum. And I guess. Yeah, alcohol makes you tired. Didn't realise how much it can make you tired. Even if it is only that weekend binge, or, you go out on a Saturday night and drink too much and have a late night.
Yeah.
That was one of his comments is, oh, Mum, you're not so tired anymore, which is huge.
How do you
coming from a child?
How do you feel in relation to your son being his mum and him now looking at you as this new version of yourself? Someone who's choosing not to drink and seeing all these benefits. What does that do for you thinking about the image that you're presenting to your son?
for me, it's probably the biggest gift I can give him is actually being able to, one, show him that, you can be happy and have fun and still be a great person without alcohol. And I'm not saying that I won't drink again in the future, but at least if I do, it will be a conscious decision. And also, I guess being able to give him, from what I've learned from this program about, feelings and talking about things and actually being vulnerable and having the courage, that's something I can pass on to him, and show him that just because there's the advertising out there that you need to drink or, because it is everywhere, that is advertising and that's what it's there for, but it's actually not the right journey to go on.
Yeah, right. Amazing to think that your way of being now towards your son, the way you've just described that, could show him that there's another way to be as a young guy growing up in our cultures, that otherwise he would have just probably gone down the same path you'd gone down without really even being conscious, but all of a sudden he finds himself drinking. Now he's looking at you saying, okay, all these people are doing that, but here's my mum over here who stopped that flow of energy, that sort of that lifestyle, and now look at her benefits. And you might, what a powerful sort of example of the fact that you just don't need to be like the crowd, and you don't need to, you can actually take some control. I can imagine that just feels really wonderful, given that your son's only ever going to have one mum, isn't he? And you're showing up as a great example of what it is to be a free human being.
Yeah, that's right. And I think also just having the courage to go, actually, I want to change, and this is how I'm going to do it. And I think there's one thing I did learn from the program is, because of course we're on group calls and things together, is people don't talk about their feelings, and we did on this journey, and there was, we learned from each other, but it's okay to be vulnerable and it's okay to talk about the really raw stuff, because I guess that's what keeps us healthy. That's what keeps us motivated to learn, to grow, and, and to change. But we've actually got to talk about some of that stuff as well. So that's where the program was fantastic, because we had the support of other people on it, and also the coaches like yourself, Dave.
So let's talk about that for a bit, because it's hard to really quantify the benefit that comes from having a group of people that have got the similar objective, and they're doing something that's different. It can be challenging, it can be scary as hell to go and do these things, but when you've got the support of a bunch of other people, maybe we're all crazy together, I don't know, but if we are, it's a good crazy. But we head off in this direction, and we've got this wonderful support. You've got, instead of one guru's perspective on the way things are and downloading that whole view of the world, you've got, all of a sudden you've got 10, you've got 15, you've got 5 different opinions, different experiences. It's so empowering, isn't it, that group, having that community?
Yeah. So, yeah, and it was, I must admit, I've made some really neat friends over in America and even in Australia from being on this journey, and I still keep in touch with them now. And somebody would have something come up and completely, I guess, going back to the feelings thing, something would happen and they'd post it and say, oh, I really wouldn't mind going and having a beer and going to the pub. But then everyone would fire in and give help and support that person on what actually was the root cause of that. So whatever happened at work, and give them ways of learning to deal with it in a different way. So you were learning from people every day, even if you weren't posting. So, and just having that community support and being there and watching other people's journey was just, definitely amazing, really.
That's awesome. So look, let's role play this for a second, because one of the great things about James's Project 90 program is the fact that this community exists. You're not just there by yourself. As soon as you know that there's someone standing with you going through the same sorts of things, that gives us incredible sense of power. But say, okay, let's role play. So I'm on the call and I'm in the Project 90 group, and I'm thinking, oh, geez, I've had a horrible week, and I just feel it's Friday. I just feel like I want to go and have a few drinks at the surf club with my mates that I used to do, and before I started this program. I've just had enough. I just want to check out. It's just too much. Now, give me 5 responses of different people within the community that would fire back to encourage me to kind of snap me out of it. What would a few comments be?
So, for instance, you could reach out to Marco Polo. So you could say, hey, look, because of the group, and just say, look, this is what I'm thinking. And then people would jump on and, I guess, give you full support and give you other ideas and ways of dealing with it.
Okay.
You could reach out to them one-on-one, so you could actually send the person a message.
Okay.
Or they could reach out to a coach, or they could reach out to James, or the other option is, which we always used to say, was just go and do something else, but that.
Okay.
So anything else, but yeah.
So
there was always.
So I'm in that situation and I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed. And if I realize, oh, hang on, I've got 40, I've got 80 people as part of the community. I can go on, I can send a direct message to one of these people I'm becoming friends with. I could send a Marco Polo video clip and say, hey guys, I just need a bit of help here because I'm feeling like I want to do something that I don't really want to do because I know it's not going to end in the right way. What can I do? And then, so give me some responses, for example, like you and others might jump on to help me see things in a more healthy way. What might you say to me if I was thinking that?
Yeah, so the first thing I'd say is congratulations for reaching out to us, and then just talk about, I guess, how you must be feeling at the moment. And quite often, I guess, if I didn't, somebody else would have said, well, actually, hey, that's happened to me, and this is what I did. For instance, I drove home and went for a walk for an hour, or I actually called such and such. So maybe you could try that instead.
Wow.
But generally when people were quite close, if they posted, then everyone would get on there and start posting, and then they'd start listening to that post, and that would actually pull them down, and they would go and do something else, and then you'd hear from them later. And because generally it does pass, and the thought comes into your mind. You think, oh, mine Friday night, come home, I used to have a wine. And that was the first thing I did on a Friday night, was walked in and poured a wine and sat down. Now I walk in, pour myself a big soda and drink that and do something else. Quite often it's throw a load of washing on, or I actually sit on the couch and start a conversation. Oh, God, it was only a couple of Fridays ago I came home and actually went for a run. So that's unheard of on a Friday night. Well, in my world, probably for the last 20 years. But, yeah, and I think that's that whole thing of, people, the community would help and support in any situation. The biggest step was the person to actually say, hey, this is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, there's really something, isn't there? And just having the luxury of time between the thing that happens here and making a decision. If we can just space that time out and then sit back, reflect on, hey, is this going to go in? I know where this is going. If I drink now, for example, I know where this is going to end up. I'm going to end up feeling that I've just let myself down, and I might end up feeling sick the next day, etc. But putting that space, and it really helps when you've got other people. You realise you're not just on this journey alone, and we're not on this journey in life alone. So what I really want to say is to anyone who's listening, excuse me, on James's podcast, the Alcohol-Free Lifestyle podcast, there is a community here. It's real. It's not made up. It's not fabricated. You will see many, many colleagues, friends heading in the same direction, wanting to up-level their life, just like what Gaylene's done. Gaylene, it's not easy at all to make change. You're talking about coming home. You're a woman who's had a lot of experience in life, in work, commercially. You've got a son, you've got a vibrant relationship, and you come home on a Friday night and did something you'd never done before, which is go for a run. Now, the changes you've brought in your life that I've noticed, these do not happen easily at all. And they often do not happen without one-on-one direct interest and from someone who you know cares, and having a community around that supports you, and also having really good content, really good ways and learning new strategies to think about these things. All that stuff's provided in James's program. Like, I'm here to give this James's program an absolute big plug, and that's for my podcast listeners as well. You know, I run a manship mastermind group, and we're building the same culture of, number one, you're not alone. You might think you're alone on this new venture to change and make positive impact on yourself and on the world, but you're not alone. You've got the opportunity to hook in with a whole bunch of other people, and it really can't be understated. So thank you for that. Hey, one of the things I wanted to just elaborate again on, you'd said earlier, was it's not about the alcohol, you know, and I just want to tease that out a little bit further. Can you give me an example of where in the past, can you give me an example of the way you dealt with a situation where, say for example, it was something that happened at work during the working week, and you used to deal with it by just thinking, far out. And you told me this example, so it's not made up, that you would just have a couple of drinks to try and forget about that or decompress. If that same situation come up now, how would you look at that, realizing that actually alcohol is not going to be the solution? How would you decompress it yourself? And just for the benefit of going over this again, to feel free in making what the decision's going to be as to how you deal with that particular stress, what would be the first thing you'd do? Yeah. I'm putting you in the hot seat, and I'm sorry for that. Oh. Please, everyone recognise that I'm asking Gaylene some things that we haven't even discussed, but this is how real it is.
I think probably, now, Dave, being that I'm clear-headed and I'm quite clear in decisions, and I guess I haven't got that brain fog and everything else that comes with it, and I've got good sleep and I exercise and I'm eating well. If some of those situations came up now, I would actually just hit them head on, because in the past I'd probably, I guess, not say anything, but then come home and stew on it and have a drink and be quite angry or pissed off about it, really. Mm-hmm. But now it's like I'd speak up and say, actually, what you've said isn't okay, and I'm not happy about that, and we need to talk about that. Mm-hmm. So instead of just letting, I guess, the more important things slide under the carpet until I stewed about it for a week and then approached it, now it's like, no, actually, let's deal with this right now on the spot. Let's actually talk about this. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hey, do you think in some ways, Gaylene, the ability, you know, in using whatever strategy it is to avoid an emotional or a confrontational situation, alcohol's one way. You could become a gym addict. You could become a Netflix binger, for example. Whatever those things are, do you think that we're really dealing with the problem at that point, or is it we're just pushing it back for some time, sort of pushing it into our future, really, because at some time we're going to probably face that situation again? Do you think that's what's going on?
Yeah, that's right. I think, like quite easily I could have given up alcohol and gone to food or to something else, but I guess that's just pushing the emotion that needs to be dealt with, or anything that comes up in life. You're just pushing it to something else, like you say, Netflix or food. Mm-hmm. And I think with going through this program, it gives you the skills to actually dive, like I said earlier, dive into those emotions and actually, I guess, hit life head on and actually go, right, okay, well, that's happened, I have to deal with it. So, but also learning when something does happen to actually step back a little bit too and go, well, okay, so what's actually happened here, what I'm thinking might be completely different to what the other person is thinking too. So actually learn to understand, have a bit of understanding in between as well. And, I guess asking more questions so you understand instead of just jumping to conclusions. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, you've taken probably what I feel, Gaylene, the way I describe it for myself to other people is I say, stopping alcohol was the first decision, and it led to a whole bunch of other really good decisions. And it sounds to me like you've talked about your health, you've talked about your relationships, you've talked about the actual getting off of alcohol itself. You're looking wonderful, and you're sounding wonderful. That you've are really in the empowered position for the way you're viewing your life going forwards. And what else could you want for someone in your life more than that? That they're feeling strong and powerful and clear about what they're doing, and they can. It's equipment. It's skilling up for a life that can just expand and grow, isn't it?
Yeah, and let alone the money you save. And I remember doing a calculation at some point on the amount of empty calories I hadn't drunk, and I was like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
No burning them off at the gym because I haven't got them.
Mm-hmm.
And and just the money, like that's massive. I've started putting that aside. Of course, the program being in New Zealand wasn't cheap, and I guess there is that financial buy-in, so to keep you accountable as well. But that was worth every cent.
Yeah, worth every cent. So, in terms of and without necessarily talking about money figures as such, how long do you think this will you pay the course fees off by not drinking? Just the money you're going to save. Is it 1 year? Is it 10 months? Is it?
I think it was just under. It was about 16 months.
Okay. Yeah. Of course, we've had and dealt with, and I know James, through the history of the program, have dealt with people who were spending insane amounts of money, and they paid the equivalent fee was paid off in 6 weeks. It's extraordinary. And you think about dynamics which often happen when you're drinking, because not just necessarily your alcohol. You could be a generous person who's at the bar and is always the one who's shouting and buying, and those money and lost money in that sense really adds up quickly. Hey, Gaylene, it's really been a pleasure getting to know you. You're a genuine article. None of what I felt that you were always extremely authentic in the way that you showed up on our calls each week, and it was just so wonderful to see someone who was battling at times and struggling, and also willing to be open and honest to me that, hey, this isn't going 100% and I'm a bit nervous. But often when we talked about those things, just having that gap and that space and all the resources available through people and the videos James posts, etc., all that stuff just helps to really change your whole psychology about, hey, yeah, I'm worth living the best life I can possibly live, and I don't see how alcohol is going to put me in that position. And I've seen an amazing transformation. I talk about you, Gaylene, to other people all the time. I say I've been speaking to these people for 3 months, and I see this transformation. They have changed their life, and in a number of ways, not just the one item of alcohol that we're talking about now, but you've changed and transformed your life. The benefit to you and your next circle out, which would be your husband and your son, and then the next circle out from that could be other family members and friends, and then you've got work colleagues out. Then it just goes on and on. It's like a ripple in a pond, isn't it? And I'm just really proud of you, and just think that you're going to just continue to move forward. I know you are with your things in terms of your professional life. It's opened up as well, hasn't it?
Yes, yeah, it has.
So, Gaylene, listen, I think we might bring the call to an end. Wonderful. Thank you for taking the time out over there in New Zealand. I'm sitting over here in Turkey, and we're connected by this wonderful technology. So thank you, and I'm sure this is going to be great for you to be able to show to your friends and family about the reasons and the motivations and more importantly, the outcomes. After 90 days, you've really turned your life around, and you should be so super proud of yourself as you've done that, and I know you are. Thank you, Dave. It's been awesome. It's been such a great journey. Wonderful. Okay, Gaylene, well, we'll see you soon, and we'll keep talking, and bye for now. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Alcohol Free Lifestyle Podcast. I want to load you up with some free stuff right now. So if you want to go to jamesswanwick.com/guide, I will send you my Quit Alcohol Guide, which has helped six-figure entrepreneurs and top professionals reduce or quit drinking. You can also text the word QUIT GUIDE to the number 44222 if you're in the US, of course. It doesn't really work anywhere outside of the US. But if you're in the US on your mobile phone and you'd like that guide, text the word QUIT GUIDE to the number 44222, or you can go to jamesswanwick.com/guide. If you'd like to schedule a free 15-minute call with one of my top coaches, just an exploratory call to see if or how we can help you, then you can go to jamesswanwick.com/schedule, or you can text the word Project 90 to the number 44222 if you're listening in the US on a mobile phone. That's jamesswanwick.com/schedule, or you can text the word Project 90, that's one word, Project 90, to the number 44222. Feel free to send me a direct message over on my Instagram account, which is @JamesSwanwick. You can also watch video episodes of this podcast and a series of other educational videos on my YouTube channel, which is James Swanwick 1, or you can direct message me on Facebook @James Swanwick Official. And finally, a request. Would you please now write a short review of the podcast inside of the Apple Podcast app on your phone or on iTunes on your desktop computer? Would you please give the show 5 stars and write a quick 1 or 2 sentence review? This will help the show get in front of even more listeners